The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to John. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." But when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and are you going there again?" Jesus said, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who work during the day do not stumble, because they see the light of this world. But those who walk at night stumble, because the light is not in them." After saying this, he told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will be all right." Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead. But for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench, because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. The Gospel of the Lord. I just got back from New York City. I took a red-eye Tuesday night and arrived extra early Wednesday and was able to spend some time with my mom. My mom turns 90 on June 5th, and we made arrangements to bring her out at the end of this month. So she'll come out for a little bit longer than a month, and she'll be here for my birthday and Mother's Day and her birthday, and a great reunion with her great-grandchild. So that was fun to be part of that and see those pieces come together. And then Wednesday night, I got to play a concert at Carnegie Hall with the New York Pops, and it was a program of music from Hollywood. So it was Ben-Hur and the Parade of the Chariots and Apollo 13 and The Mission and the music of Marvin Hamlish, and big finale was Star Wars. I get to play timpani, and I had a blast. And so it was great fun, and had an early flight back on Saturday to get here for the open house that we had for the preschool Saturday afternoon, so back in plenty of time for the 3 o'clock. And I was unusually lucky, I have to say, as far as the seat I had on the plane. One, because, of course, next to the window, that part I knew, but the middle seat was empty. That's always kind of a extra perk. And then the person sitting in the aisle with me turned out to be just a fascinating person. Really, really interesting. He's Jewish, and we ended up talking about religion and sociology and commerce and economics, and just easy conversation. Not a single impediment. And he has for many years now used his wealth to connect people that get very wrapped up in their lives, probably in accumulating things and in being successful, connecting them with a spiritual path or some way of awakening themselves, a great awakening, that they would come to understand what he describes as it. It is the immanent transcendence. And so he's a truly interesting person. And he shared with me that he grew up very poor and had more money than he could ever imagine at this point in his life, could ever imagine having to spend. And so he's a philanthropist, owns an enormous apartment in New York, way too much space that anyone could possibly inhabit, and was coming out to visit his daughter who's attending USC. He shared about a time in his life when things kind of fell apart, and he was disconnected from family members and people whom he long loved and whom he cared about deeply, but found himself separated, and they separated from him, and to his extraordinary credit, he found a way to reconnect, regardless of what they did, and to make peace. And he shared time about some family members that had similar experiences of, these times of struggle and darkness, and if you will, their time in the cave, their time when life wasn't what they had hoped, wasn't what they had dreamed of. Their own experience of what was probably a kind of spiritual death. I don't know if you were involved with the video series a couple of weeks ago that many of us have been watching on different days of Lent and walking through it with the Society of St. John the Evangelist. But I thought that this Episcopal Holy Order had a particularly rich session, and they spoke about Lazarus, and the person who was talking about life and new life was talking about a work of art where it seemed that while Lazarus came out of the cave, for some reason there was a part of him that was still inside the cave, that he was kind of hanging back, that there was some maybe gravitational pull that the cave or the darkness had over him, and he wasn't exactly sure what was going to happen. And I think Jesus gives Martha an incredible gift. Even as Martha addresses Jesus and says, if only you had been here, if only you had been here. And Jesus replies, and she comes back with a really faithful, theological, religious reply of the day. She says, God, of course I know that he will come to life again and rise with the dead. He will come to life and rise with the dead. I know that. And Jesus responds with the words that are manna for each and every one of us. Words that God shared with Moses, and in words we each need to hear at every moment and every crossroad, every peril. And that is, God says, I am. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. I am. That means now, right here. You don't have to wait. We'll share the good news of the resurrection, but the truth of the matter is, I am here now. And that's extraordinary news for Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. I am here, and I am with you. And I would not trivialize anyone's struggle. I would not trivialize anyone's time in the cave. But there's good news in knowing that God's with us. There's good news in knowing that Jesus weeps at the thought of the suffering of a loved one. There's extraordinary news in that Jesus shares this great miracle with the surrounding crowd. You see, Jesus calls Lazarus out, "Come out, Lazarus." And then he says to the people that are gathered there, "Unbind him," right? Release this person. Share in my ministry. We have a place in Jesus' ministry. It's really just that simple. And it's as simple as recognizing that we are the ones who are commissioned to do the unbinding, to set people free, to show them what life can look like, to be people of promise and hope. And when people don't have their own promise and hope, we loan them ours. We share stories of possibilities, extraordinary possibilities. You folks have done amazing things. You continue to do amazing things. You show up. I would ask, though, if knowing that God heals and invites us into that healing ministry, I ask you, would you consider being the hero for someone that's in need? Would you consider being that source of hope and peace and joy? Would you step out of your comfort zone and participate in unbinding those who are suffocating and don't know what freedom might be? I know we're going to do that. I know you do it. But I also know that we need to pray for it. God, we offer ourselves to Thee, to build with us and do with us as Thou wilt. Relieve us of the bondage of self, that we may better do Your will. Take away our difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those that we would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. And may we do your will always. Amen.